You're in the right spot. Where, you ask? Well, it's Bills by the Numbers, and we're presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more. On tap this time around. Who has to step up to make a run at the 53-man roster? And who might be in a tough spot at a deep position group? And how long before the cheat code is found for the new dynamic kickoff? Hey, man, throw it already! Boy, did you make the right call. Joining us here on Bills by the Numbers, Bills Wall of Famer Steve Tasker, Bills insider Chris Brown with you. And as we move deeper into the preseason, it's time to make some roster assessments with the cut to 53 less than 2 weeks away. And we do that in these three things. Thing number one, Steve, who has to step it up fast to make a run at the roster?
I think it's going to be a familiar name. I think it's going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He hasn't made very many plays in camp. You got a lot of guys around him who seem to be elevating.
His only target was a drop in preseason game one.
He's so I think they're more than willing, because of the clean slate everybody has. I think more than willing. I don't know that his cachet as a veteran pro receiver is gonna carry him through. You've got guys on this roster that have really elevated. Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins. I mean, those guys, you can almost chisel them in right now. And so it gets down very quickly.
Arguably two spots for the 9 other guys.
Yeah, it gets very thin very quickly.
Yeah,
I went space for him.
I went receiver too. KJ Hamler. He had a good final week of training camp. Then he gets to the game, and boy, it was windy conditions. He probably has never returned punts or kicks in Highmark Stadium on a windy day. He was fighting it.
Yeah.
He had a muff, recovered the football, but had a muff. So did Daquan Hardy, for that matter. But I think he's got to do more, too, if he wants to have a shot at this roster. A veteran that's trying to resuscitate his career. That guy's got to lay it all out there, if you want to make this roster.
Yeah, it was a rough day on Saturday against the Bears. The wind was really a factor, and the kicking game, it always shows up big time. We saw it we could even see it from the booth when the punt would come right to left, left to right. It was moving all over the place in the air.
There was a Sam Martin punt that hit a wall of wind and almost dropped straight down.
It was almost going backwards when it came down. It was right in front of the press.
Yeah.
You could see it
right around midfield.
Yeah, our booth is like 20 feet away from yours. I was like, wow, you can, and the return guys are stuck. So, yeah, that was a factor in it, no question. But I'm sure that goes into the equation. Mm-hmm. But being able to handle that and play well during the midst of it is something that
there are going to be other windy days here.
Yes, exactly.
The weather's not getting better.
You ain't playing in a vacuum out there. So it'll be interesting, the evaluation. But you're right, KJ Hamler. It was a struggle for all those guys.
Yeah. Thing number two. Who is in a tough spot at a deep position on this roster?
And
could get caught up in a numbers game.
I'm looking at the offensive line because there's so many really good players. I think a guy who has been a starter in this league, Will Clapp may have a hard time making it at center. He was a center guard, and you got Cedric Van Pran Granger, who is a draft pick, who has a pedigree that we've seen him elevate and start get better reps in practice. And of course, they're sitting behind Connor McGovern to begin with. A guy like Will Clapp, because of his inexperience of playing guard, or at least we don't have much tape on him playing guard, he's got to play both spots. I think the offensive line is the deepest position on the field.
I don't know that Lyle Collins is safe either. He's having trouble moving around a little bit. He's got the giant knee brace on his left leg.
Alec Anderson,
younger options.
Yeah, Alex Anderson didn't go anywhere. Neither is Ryan Vandermark. So there's two tackles / guards or guard / centers right there.
Yeah.
With Cedric Van Pran, you start to get thinned out again.
The guy I picked was Kingsley Jonathan.
Yeah,
this guy's in a tough spot. Made the roster last year, but Javon Solomon, the 5th-round draft choice, I think has performed better than him through the course of camp and the preseason. We still got 2 preseason games to go. But when you think about the depth that's in front of him, even if they carry an extra end like Dewan Smoot is on this team. Von Miller is on this team. A.J. Epinesa is on this team. Greg Rousseau is on this team. That's 4 ends right there. Now, Smoot could be your swing guy to be your quote-unquote 5th defensive tackle, so maybe you only keep 4 defensive tackles so you can carry a 6th end, perhaps. And if that,
we've even seen,
now you're talking Casey Toohill, Javon Solomon, and Kingsley Jonathan. That's tough.
Well, now we have seen Rousseau slide down inside on passing situations,
right? But he can't play defensive tackle.
But he's not doing
for
that
a whole game.
Yeah,
Smoot could do that in a pinch,
right? You don't even want Rousseau to be down there on a 1st and 10 play. So
I think Jonathan's in a tough spot here in terms of the numbers game. It's not like he's not deserving of a roster spot, but that may be a tough call. I think he's in a tough spot at a deep position.
It'll be his ability to contribute in other ways on special teams and that kind of thing as to how they build that roster and what that dynamic kickoff looks like.
Yeah.
What kind of athletes they want there.
Thing number 3, what young player in your mind has done enough to prove they're worthy of a practice squad spot and develop further? Someone who's put enough on tape where the coaching staff and the personnel department says, all right, let's invest some time in him. Let's put him on the practice squad.
I had 2 names. One was Gable Stevenson.
Yeah.
I liked what I saw in the game. I mean, you would think, and it's easy to put yourself in this spot, that guy's been in some big moments, and he's been all alone on the wrestling mat in the Olympic gold medal.
One-on-one is what he's done his whole life.
Right. So he's used to big moments and having it on him. And he elevated in that game, I thought. He turned out to be a gamer.
Leverage is
That's right.
a no-brainer for
That's
him.
One, and I had another
he can
one.
do leverage in his sleep.
That's right. That's right. The other one may well be the local kid, Joe Andreessen. Those 2 guys may have a shot at hanging around for a year or 2 and getting a chance to actually get on the roster at some point.
Yeah, I thought about Andreessen because I thought he had a good performance in the first preseason game. No real mental errors. Filled the gaps well in the run front. Played on special teams. Made a tackle. So, yeah, he was noticeable. And that's what you want to be if you're at the back end of the roster. My guy was Corey Couch, the undrafted rookie out of Miami. He's played a lot of nickel corner. And while there are guys certainly in front of him at that position, namely Taron Johnson, Cam Lewis, maybe even Daquan Hardy, I think Couch has done enough and made enough plays in the practice setting where I think he gets on the practice squad, and they try to see what they can do with him. How can they develop him? I think he's done enough, and he's probably only a slot guy. He's like 5'9", 175. I mean, he barely weighs more than me. That's saying something if you're playing professional football. So my hat's off to him. I think he's done a nice job. I think he gets some consideration for the practice squad.
That's a good call as well, yeah.
The preseason opener, Steve, as we know, left a bit to be desired in terms of urgency, pre-snap execution with all the penalties, and consistency of play. We heard Coach McDermott confirm that it did not meet their standard by a long shot. We know it'll be addressed by the coaching staff, but do you think the increased player turnover and larger contingent of youth on this roster necessitates a different approach with respect to playing time the rest of the way in the preseason in light of how that first game went?
Oh, sure. The veterans are going to sit down. I mean, that I think one of the things I saw in that preseason game was that the veterans, I mean, you got guys that won the division 4 years in a row. They've won playoff games 4 years in a row, 5 years. I mean, they are used to playing in big spots. Last year, they come down the stretch, they were 5-0 in must-win games to get in the playoffs, and they got the number 2 seed. This team is very accustomed to playing in games with a ton of meaning. And looking around the roster and going into the game knowing you're going to get like 10 snaps, it's really hard to dredge up some passion to play in a game like that. After you've just been in playoff games, championship, division games, coming down the stretch in must-win games in regular season and then in the playoffs, and then to come out here and know you're going to get 10 snaps in a game that nobody's going to care about. Man, oh man. So I would put the poor performance of the preseason in the veterans' corner. They set the tone emotionally in the locker room. Mm-hmm. And the young guys, this is their first outing. They don't know what they're doing. So the bar is low for them, and there is no standard for them to even know what to live up to because it's their first thing out of the box. I would suspect now with the veterans going into this game, knowing they probably may not even see the field, they will do their best to pump these young guys up and say, okay, let's go. It's time to buckle down. Let's see some of it. And I think you'll see a different place for that. So, yes, in this playtime thing, the young guys are going to be the bulk of the reps in these games. And the guys on the sideline there are going to be doing their best to give them some emotional support, give them some passion.
And we've also seen this from Sean McDermott since he's been here with his coaching staff. If he feels there is anyone who has taken it out of gear even half a tick, they'll adjust the roster accordingly.
Yeah.
Maybe move a guy on the second team up to the first team for a practice, see how it goes, and just send a little message to somebody. Or might take somebody from the third team, move him up to the second team, and kick a guy down a team. Mm-hmm. Just as hey, you want to take it out of gear? Here's somebody that's ready to put it in gear and go play.
It's
not a mistake
right.
that one of the receivers they brought in, Demir Bird, has return experience after that first preseason game. That's not by accident.
It reminds the players that everything they do nothing they do goes unnoticed. The good and the bad. So yes, you're exactly right, Brownie. There's nothing that goes unnoticed, and the coaches, and that's why.
That's how they push buttons.
That's how they do it, man. You got to bring it, and you got to bring it to a level that they think is acceptable, or there's going to be some changes made.
He'll do it. McDermott's done it during the season.
They
churn player 51 to 53 during the season. If somebody's got their foot off the gas, they will churn the practice squad if they're not getting enough from them in scout team during the week.
Well, and they'll also reward a guy who has been down there buried in the depth chart, who's still grinding, still does it, and then makes some plays and starts getting better. They reward him with reps and an active game or up on the practice squad. Or they reward those guys.
The 2 call-ups.
That is one of the reasons why this culture in this building has been, by word of mouth, really positively advertised by players who have come here and left or been here and left.
Or been here, left, and come back.
That's right. If you work hard and do the work and show promise, you get rewarded for it tangibly.
No matter who you
reps, you're brought up. No matter where you were drafted or where you were picked up. Undrafted rookie free agent, first-round draft choice. That's the way it goes. And that is an enormous positive when this club, is in that locker room and they're trying to get that roster the right way. You got 90 guys in this case, 90 guys who know the score.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Okay, so if we think the approach to this preseason and playing time might have to be a little bit different in light of the youth and experience on the roster, at what positions do you feel more playing time is most needed to get what the coaching staff is looking for out of that particular position?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that you could mention, but for me, it's still safety. Mm-hmm. I want those 2 guys. There's only, they've had some injuries. Bishop, Mike Edwards, DeMar. You've got to get some more reps with those guys. Taylor Rapp. I'll say this. Taylor Rapp has had a good a camp as anybody on the defensive side of the ball.
He looks like a different player this year. In a good way.
Yes, in a good way. He looks like he may be as good a defensive player as they had in training camp this year. Maybe it's because I see the contrast in what he was allowed to do and asked to do last year as compared to this year. Mm-hmm. He has blossomed. So, but having said that, DeMar needs reps. Cole Bishop needs reps. Mike Edwards needs reps. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I would go along with that. I would agree with that. And Cole Bishop just finally got off the stationary bike working on the side. He was actually doing some running drills at practice on the side the other day. So as soon as he gets back, he is going to be immersed in as many reps as humanly possible between now and the start of the regular season. I would also argue receiver, though, just because with the exception of Khalil Shakir, Tyrell Shavers, who was on the practice squad last year, and Curtis Samuel, who's been in a Joe Brady offense before. The system's new to everybody else.
Sure.
Get those guys reps. I mean, oh my God, get them out there, keep running them, move them wherever you need to move them. And then I would say, based on our conversation earlier, we could use some more return reps.
Yeah.
Just
I was surprised
let
they
the
kicked
players
ball.
help you make the decision by giving them as many reps as possible. I mean, obviously, you're kind of at the mercy of how the game unfolds, too. But you had a lot of opportunities last week with 33 points hung on you. So,
yeah, I was surprised that the Bills, they didn't get very many kickoff reps last week, and the ball sailed out of the end zone when they did. 2 of their reps were useless. So I'm pretty sure they're disappointed about that, but because of the wind and all the other factors and the way the Bears handled it. So you're right. I'd like to see him get some more reps and kick off as well, but we will.
Okay, and finally, I think I'm going to know your answer to this. What part of the team in your mind is not a worry at all heading into the season?
In the big picture, I'm pretty confident about the offense and their ability to play. I'm not worried about Josh at all.
Yeah.
The offensive line, the tight ends look solid as a rock, and
might be even deeper than we thought.
Yeah, Zach Davidson has impressed. So now you got Kincaid, Knox, and Davidson, who's a big body. He's the biggest of all of them, and they all played extremely well. So I think generally offensively, I'm not worried at all. I would like to see the wide receivers, and I'd like to see it a little more. But man, the tight ends, the running backs, Josh, and the offensive line, I'm ready. I think that's what I'm not worried about.
Yeah, I was going to say tight end. To me,
Yeah.
that is a lock, stock, and barrel position with depth. So that's another one that's going to be a tough roster decision when they get down to the 53. Are they going to keep 4? What are they going to do
They
there?
got to consider it.
Yeah, I think they do. All right, time to get to the numbers game, and Steve is going to get quizzed on backup preseason quarterback history. In case you missed it, Ben DiNucci is your new quarterback for the Bills as he joins Mitch Trubisky and Josh Allen on the roster after the unfortunate neck injury to Shane Buechele landed him on injured reserve. So in the spirit of adding quarterbacks in the preseason, we run down the illustrious, numerous quarterback history in training camp in the preseason for your Buffalo Bills. Question number 1. There were 4 quarterbacks who took snaps for the Bills in 2010 in the preseason. 2 of them
14 years ago.
Hold on. You know these names?
Dude.
2 of them were Trent Edwards and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Can you name one of the other 2?
Cobb.
It is not Kevin Cobb.
Tyrod.
It is not Tyrod. Can I go back a little further? As you said yourself, 14 years ago.
What was I doing 14 years ago? Who was president 14 years ago?
Fitzpatrick, Edwards, and then these 2 gentlemen.
Levi Brown.
Levi Brown is correct. Steve. Former draft choice, 7th round pick, and the last pick out of Troy University since Javon Solomon. The other one.
The only reason I even knew Levi Brown existed was because Jay Harris came in before the thing and said, "Hey, it's not."
He blew the first question.
He blew the first question because at 11.
Call a spade here.
I forgot we even talked about it.
I misspelled it on the sheet.
Misspelled
so he wanted
on the
to make
sheet.
me aware of it.
Yes, he wanted to make him aware that he had the wrong name on
the other quarterback.
Sheet.
Brian Brom. Yeah,
Bro.
Louisville.
I had no shot.
Question number 2, Steve. Which Bills backup quarterback in 2011 tied Ryan Fitzpatrick for the most touchdown passes in the preseason on the team?
Levi Brown.
It was not Levi Brown. Good try, though.
Cobb.
It is not Cobb. I'm going to give you his initials. I want to see if you can get this.
I'm not going to get it.
His initials are TT.
Tyrod Taylor.
It is not Tyrod Taylor. I hadn't even thought of that. TT are his initials.
Terry Thompson.
No, it's not. I thought you were going to say Terry Tate, office linebacker.
Tommy
Remember those
Two
commercials?
Hill. Tommy Two Hill.
Not Tommy Two Hill. It's Tyler Thigpen. Do you remember Tyler Thigpen?
I remember that name.
Okay, fair enough.
I couldn't pick
Question-
any of these guys out of a lineup right now.
Question number 3. I'm having fun with this. What is the highest number of quarterbacks the Bills have had over the course of one training camp and preseason? The highest number. Now, right here, this year, we got 4 already.
Right. I'm going to say 6.
6. It's a little too fat.
It's got to be 5.
5.
Yeah, 5.
Here's the crazy thing. It's happened 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 5 in 2012. Fitz, Thigpen, Brad Smith, Tavares Jackson, Vince Young. Okay? 5 in 2013, the very next year. E.J. Manuel, Kevin Cobb, Thad Lewis, Jeff Toole, Matt Leinart. It happened again in 2014. 3 years in a row, we had 5 quarterbacks in the camp and the preseason.
How dark were the days of the drought?
Here are your 5
my
in 2014.
Gosh. We were so
It was so
horrible.
bad.
Oh, it was so bad.
So here are the 5 in 2014. E.J. Manuel, Thad Lewis, Jeff Toole, Dennis Dixon, and
Dennis Dixon.
Yeah, Oregon. And friend of the show, Jordan Palmer.
Oh, my gosh. There you go.
Here's question number 4. Before Josh Allen was drafted in 2018, who were the last 2 drafted quarterbacks that went through training camp and the preseason by the Bills? Last 2 drafted quarterbacks before Josh Allen.
Got to be EJ.
It is not EJ.
It was somebody after him.
There were 2 after him.
Really? Oh, JP?
Not JP. He was before EJ. He was the 2004 draft.
Really?
EJ was the 2013.
Where's the years? How do you keep that? You have to look that up. I know.
Well, he was in the Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning draft.
You are kidding.
No.
And we got
JP lost.
We got JP.
That's right.
That's a drought for you. Let's see.
Come on, you know one of these guys.
EJ.
He just...
Nathan Peterman.
There you go. That's one of them. Now, this one, the other one's a little bit harder. But you'll know the name once I say it.
The guy from Georgia. He was here with Josh.
He got drafted after Josh.
Oh, okay. That doesn't count then.
Yeah.
Fromm is it?
Jake Fromm.
He doesn't count.
He's after.
I don't know. Who is it?
It is Cardell Jones.
Oh, I loved Cardale. Let me tell you something.
7th round pick,
Cardale.
he had a rocket arm.
Cardale had a live arm, man.
Yeah.
That guy, you could hear the ball come out of that Joker's hand.
Yeah, he had a rocket.
Cardale, love that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
I just
great.
don't think he knew where he was going with it all the
Rex
time.
played him in New York against the Jets, and I thought, man, he came in late, and I was like, man, Cardale's got a chance here. Let's show me something.
Yeah. Didn't work out.
He made a couple of throws, though.
He did make a couple of throws.
Yeah, he did.
Unfortunately, he didn't
Bless
make
his
a lot
heart.
of others.
Bless his heart.
That is the numbers game. Bills fans, get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the app today to play any way you want. Plus, with live betting, you'll get updated odds on games that have already started. Best of all, you get paid your winnings fast. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Buffalo Bills. We've reached the portion of the program where we ask our one burning question, and this deals with the newest play in the game. How long will it take, Steve, before a cheat code will be revealed on the new dynamic kickoff?
I think for all the pins and needles we've all been on and all the hoops we've jumped through to try and think of one, I don't think there's going to be a cheat code.
At all? This season?
No, there's nobody's going to come up with some out-of-the-box thinking thing. Now, there might be, there's going to be some things tried, and maybe one of them.
If you're right, I'm going to be so disappointed.
Right. Right. I think that's where we're going to be. I think we're going to be disappointed in it. I think it's going to be a little bit of what we saw. No question there's going to be some experimentation, some crazy stuff tried. But I think it'll be one thing. It'll be a one-time off, like a home run throwback kind of thing. You may see
Not
some
something
touchdowns.
that can be used consistently with effectiveness.
Right. Trick plays don't count as cheat codes because it's just an awareness play. So I don't think there's going to be a loophole in the rules that are going to allow somebody to say, wow, we didn't think of that, and all of a sudden this team, every kickoff is going back, or every other kickoff is going back. So it's not going to happen. It's fun to think about, but we got too many smart guys developing this. We've seen a little bit too much of it in the XFL, UFL. So I just think it's going to be a little bit more of what we had. Now, certainly you're going to see some different stuff.
Yes.
And you might see some home runs hit, some touchdowns out of it. But there's not going to be a cheat code.
Okay. All right. After that explanation and wounding my heart, because I was looking forward to this, I think you're right. I think there will be one-offs.
Sure.
Where somebody draws something up that'll work 1 week, but then every team they play after that will be guarding against that.
They'll have it, yeah.
And have it covered up. So it's kind of a one-time thing. The thing I'm going to be interested to see is, when does somebody put that out there on the field in the course of a game? Do they wait until they're down by a touchdown and need one, and that's when they, pull the rabbit out of the hat? Or do they do it right on the opening kickoff, first one of the second half, like down at halftime? Hey, we need to score. Run that play on the kickoff.
Come out at halftime and try it. And then, it will take, you just, you're returning the kick, so you just got scored on. When do you unfurl your, finger quotes, secret weapon?
Yeah.
When you need it, you wait a week or two.
It's a laser.
It's a laser beam. Yes. Good question. I think maybe you do it by the book and then see how it goes and look around the league and see,
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating.
But here's the thing, too.
But no cheat code. Dang it.
Somebody may try something similar to your cheat code, and then you don't ever get to use yours because everybody sees it then, now you can't get
Dang it, I was going to use that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it worked. It worked perfect.
I knew it would work.
Yes. Yeah.
People might be anxious to get their ideas out there fast.
And, if you're the NFL, you're saying, hey, try all that stuff on this week 1. Let's go. We want to see it. We need to
the league got what they wanted in week 1 of the preseason. I think it was like over 75% returns on all of the kickoffs. So they're getting what they want.
Yeah.
Now will it get more interesting when we get to the regular season? Our closing figure this week looks at the points per game average in the preseason for the Bills offense in the Josh Allen era. Obviously, there used to be 4 preseason games at the beginning of his career, so we have to go by average points per game. 25.5 points per game in 2019 was the highest points per game average in Allen's 6 NFL seasons. The only other preseason that came close, 2021, when they averaged 25.3 points per game. Everything after that has been lower.
Josh played a lot in 2019.
Yes, he did. Second year on the field more, and 2021, they were coming off a juggernaut points per game season and still high flying.
Right.
That'll put a bow on this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice so you know when the next episode is out, because when you need to know about the Bills, you need to check Bills by the Numbers. For Steve Tasker, I'm Chris Brown. We'll catch you next week, everybody.